Okay, let's do self-sabotage. This topic has been the most listened to so far of the Bootcamp Your Life podcast. I've had a lot of comments on it. We have a lot of questions around it. And it's not necessarily, cutting the brake cables. I know those aren't brake cables. But it's similar. It's doing things to get in the way of your accomplishment, of your achievement. So let's explore that a bit more now. And we'll explore it by looking at what it is and how to spot it and how to deal with it. This is a pretty big topic. I will go as deep as we can within the confines of this module. But if you do have questions about it, it's something I'd be very happy to talk about, so do get in touch. It's story time, but you can do this at your leisure. There's a separate MP3 that you can download and listen to. My dulcet tones reading a story about, you can probably tell, it's about a mouse, a self-sabotaging mouse, spoilers. Or you can print off the newspaper article and read that instead, whichever you prefer. And remember, you're not a mouse, so don't make the same mistakes. But there is a story in there which we can all learn from. Grab a cup of tea, have a biscuit. Why not have two? Unless, of course, your goal is weight loss, in which case don't have two, because that's not congruent with what you're trying to achieve and would be an act of self-sabotage. But have the cup of tea, sit yourself down and listen to the story or read the story at your leisure. In essence, self-sabotage is when we say we want something, but then go about making sure it doesn't happen. And there are lots of ways that this can manifest itself. And there's a whole module on procrastination, so we won't go into a lot of detail around that here. However, excuses can crop up. We have an excuse log that you can use. We'll talk about that later. It can make one anxious. Now, when I got to the top of the corporate ladder and found myself in a role where very few of my values were being met, I self-sabotaged. I was not working my hardest. I was not doing the things I needed to do within that role, which then fed into this cycle of anxiety because I was then getting stressed and anxious about having not done the things that I was supposed to do, which then fed into me underperforming further because I was spending more time experiencing anxiety and procrastinating and not performing. So if we're not happy with our goal, if our values are not being met, then anxiety can occur. And anxiety essentially is an overstimulation of the nervous system, and it can lead to depression and underperformance and all sorts of things. One of the classic self-sabotage antics that people get up to is around weight loss, and it's rewarding oneself with a great big pie or a delicious cream cake or a massive lasagna with extra cheese. And we can minimise the impact by considering our goal and our values and all of these things. Some more ways that we can mess things up for ourselves is getting stuck into negative ways of behaving as a coping mechanism. So whilst I was experiencing the misery of being in a role I didn't enjoy, where my values weren't being met, where I was creating anxiety for myself and feeding into my own underperformance, I was also eating my feelings and drinking my feelings, which then builds into it. So I was getting heavier, I wasn't looking great, I was having hangovers more often, and it all becomes this self-destructive cycle. We can also go into Munchausen syndrome, fake illness and believing that we're ill. Have you ever, I've not done this since I was at school, but I would pull a sickie and by the end of the day, I'd be feeling genuinely ill, genuinely under the weather, because I'd convinced myself that I was ill. The mind-body link is so powerful that it can create a state within our system. It can also create cheating in tests, in relationships, in all kinds of ways. And the classic, of course, is just not doing the things that you said you would or you're meant to do. And this is linked into those self-destructive acts, getting wasted as a coping mechanism. So there's loads of ways in which this can manifest itself in your life. So what can we do about this? Hopefully, we've already tackled this head on by ensuring that your values, the values that we looked at right at the start of this program, ensure that the majority of those are met through your goal as possible, the vast bulk of them. If they aren't, then you're going to self-sabotage. We talked about my friend from Portugal, and we talked about why this is important that our values are met. And he was self-sabotaging regularly. I won't go into the detail. It's not right of me to share. But looking back now and discussing that with him, we could see that he was doing things that he didn't realise that were directly getting in the way of him achieving that goal. So if you find that you're beginning to self-sabotage, you need to revisit your values and make sure that they are being met through your goal. And if they aren't, then you need to revisit the goal and take a look at it and see how you can amend it. Now, of course, you might not believe that you are worthy of achieving this goal. So you need to look at your belief system. If you don't believe that you are worth spending time on, if you don't believe that you are worthy of achieving your goal, we would need to look at why. Your identity can play a part in this. If you identify as a procrastinator, if you identify as a fat person, then that is your identity. That is who you are. That is how you will be. You will behave in the manner congruent with your identity. So we would need to look at shifting your identity. Now, this voice in your head, we all have it. The way we talk to ourselves. We're not the nicest to ourselves. We have this critical inner voice. This critical inner voice isn't real. It isn't factual. And it's, excuse my language, it's full of bullshit. And lastly, the ecology of the goal, which we've covered. Again, it links in with my friend who wants to get back to Portugal. If the ecology of your goal is not met, then likely you'll self-sabotage to stop it from happening. So that's why we do it. Now let's have a look at how we can fight it. So I have a question for you. That goal that you've chosen, is it what you want? Is it really what you want? Are you doing it for you? Do you want what's going to happen as a result? These questions, I want you to answer them honestly. If you are finding that you are self-sabotaging, then there's a good chance that the goal that you think you want isn't actually what you want. Don't be scared of revisiting it, taking a look at it, pulling it apart, putting it back together again. You have to be 100%, 10 out of 10, without a question of a doubt. You have to want this. Otherwise, there's a reason for excuses and doubts to creep in there. And is it in line with your values? Revisit your values elicitation. Do it again. Our values can shift over time. If it's been a while, just sit down and do that values elicitation exercise again. See where you're at. You might be surprised. So if you don't believe that you're worthy or capable, or that you don't have the time or resources, or you're not allowed to have what you want, then I need to point you at the Limiting Beliefs podcast. We cover the limiting belief shift. So listen to that. We will take you through that process. And your identity. If you're identifying as lazy, if you're identifying as worthless, if you're identifying as anything that's not useful, you need to change that conversation with yourself. I am still prone to procrastination, but I am not a procrastinator. I am someone who procrastinates under the right circumstances. I'm someone who used to procrastinate all of the time, but now I get stuff done. I'm someone who used to procrastinate, but now I've got all these tools and techniques that enable me to overcome it. Change that conversation and you'll change your identity. You'll change who you are at a core level. And if you need to, you can model other people. Take a look at somebody who doesn't procrastinate, who gets stuff done, who doesn't self-sabotage, and look at the way that they approach things. Model their way of thinking, their way of being, the way they hold themselves. Mimic it to a certain extent and see what results you get. Now, this voice in your head, we all have it, the one who tells us we're not good enough, we don't deserve things, that we're going to fail, that we're not going to succeed, that whatever we do isn't going to be good enough. What an arsehole. It's not real. There's lots of ways we can deal with that. 1. Look for something about it. Look for something about it that's not true. Look for a chink in the armour. Find the point that's not 100% true, and you will start to wobble it. You'll start to shake it. You'll start to prove that it's not, that it's full of shit. It's not telling the truth and you don't have to believe it. Admittedly, it's easier said than done. So how about you change it? How about you change the voice? How about you turn it into Homer Simpson or Mr. Wooferson, the adorable dog, or Patrick from SpongeBob, or anything dumb or silly or ridiculous. Change the voice and then notice that you can move it. And as you move it, just push it away. Push it further and further away. Push it further away so you can't even hear it anymore. And notice how that feels different. Or if that doesn't work, move it down your arm. Move it down your arm to the end of your finger and then just flick it away. That voice is nonsense. You don't have to listen to it. You can get rid of it. You can change it. You can change what it means. And then lastly, the ecology. Of course, we've ensured that you already have an ecological goal. If you are self-sabotaging, then it's worth revisiting that, making sure that it is still ecological, because of course circumstances can change over time. Maybe you've brought a beautiful new life into the world and that affects your goal. Maybe you've moved, maybe different things can happen, different things can change, different circumstances can have an impact on the ecology of your goal. Here's some other ways in which you can fight self-sabotage, and this is something that coaches love, and that's gratitude. Building gratitude into your life helps to shift your way of thinking. You start to notice the things that you focus on. Have you ever heard a new word and then you hear it everywhere? That's because your focus has shifted onto that word. Or maybe you've bought a new car. Maybe it's quite an unusual car that you just haven't seen around. And then all of a sudden, as you're driving home down the motorway, it's like all of the people with that kind of car have come out to greet you, driving the opposite way down the motorway. Again, it's just because your attention has shifted, your focus has shifted onto that thing. So it's there in the forefront of your mind. By showing a bit of gratitude every day, you are putting your focus onto the good. You will start to notice more of the good, not only in yourself, but in the world around you and in everybody else. So we've provided a gratitude log. You can do this for 30 days, and every day you note down the 3 things you're grateful for. It can be anything. It's not necessarily grateful to a higher power or to other people or that you have enough of it. You're just grateful it exists in the world. So today I'm grateful that I've got a day off, and I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to do an interview with somebody, and I'm grateful that I hung out with my friends tonight. I've been grateful for video games, both in general and specific ones, for wine, for various activities, for people, for places, for things. It shouldn't be tough to come up with 3 things every day you're grateful for. And we've got a template there for you to fill out. We've also done an example, so you can download it and take a look at the kinds of things that I've been grateful for. Now, not only have we got a gratitude log, but there's a success log. We've got a journal in there that you can download. You can reflect on the things that have gone well. You can look back over your action planner overview and see all of the objectives that you've achieved. You can look at your detailed action plan and see all of the actions that you have achieved, and just remind yourself of how far you've come already. We've got some more specific modules, so we've got procrastination and when things go wrong, where we'll dive more deeply into those topics. And you can always see a coach. We can figure out why you're sabotaging and put in some strategies to overcome that. So don't be shy about coming forward if you are struggling. And we've said this a lot already, and I'm probably going to say it again before the end of the programme. There is no such thing as failure. It's all just feedback. Yes, this takes a bit of a mental shift. The sooner you embrace this, the better. If you can learn to fail often and elegantly and awesomely and get something from it, and just pick yourself up and go, oh wow, that didn't work, did it? But hey, I've learned that didn't work. And knowledge is power. It's such a great feeling to adopt this mindset and just pootle along going, let's try this. Oh, that didn't work. How about this? Oh, that one works. That's excellent. We'll do some more of that. Let's try this. Oh no, that's gone horribly wrong. You'll start to relish and enjoy your failures, and not use them as a stick to beat yourself with, but as an opportunity to learn, as an opportunity to grow and get better results next time. So I implore you, go out and fail at things and enjoy the results. I've included the transcript from our podcast episode from Bootcamp Your Life on this topic of self-sabotage. It does have a parental advisory sticker on iTunes because we do swear quite a lot. But it's all very irreverent. We have a good time doing it. And we cover this from 2 viewpoints. So you have myself, you have Sean Barker, who's an excellent hypnotherapist, and we both tackle this in our own ways. That's where to go. We've included it as both the MP3 and as the transcript, so you can download that and go a bit deeper into self-sabotage and how to overcome it. So that's self-sabotage. It's an absolute bugger, but there are ways in which you can overcome it. And we've covered what it is, the ways it manifests itself in order to mess up your goals and feed into various cycles of self-destruction and anxiety and all of the bad stuff that we don't really want happening when we're trying to achieve something awesome. We've looked at the ways that you can combat it through using different tools and through changing your mindset. And we've also included that podcast episode to drill down even further into this. So that's self-sabotage. We'll see you in the next module.